Welcome to What's Important to You, the podcast where we explore purpose, passion, and the moments that truly matter. I'm James Dean, and each week I sit down with inspiring guests to uncover what drives them, inspires them, and what's important to them. Have you ever stopped to think about who you turn to when life gets tough, or how prepared you really are for the challenges you haven't seen coming? In today's episode, we explore resilience, leadership, the power of support systems, and why success is rarely achieved alone. We also discuss how preparation, self-awareness, and continuous growth can help us navigate both life and business with greater confidence. Today, we find out what's important to executive coach and creator of the Forge system, James Carty. Hi, James. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, James. Delighted to be invited onto this pod. It's great after listening to a few episodes. It's great to be here speaking with you.
Fantastic. Yeah, really looking forward to this. So we're going to dive straight in, James, with the first question was, what's important to you?
Yeah, so this has changed dramatically over a period of years. But what was important to me when I was younger has changed. But currently, the most important thing to me in my life is my family, what makes me happy. And I suppose that's because of life's lessons that I've had. In a previous life, I was married, and that all ended in divorce. So I had to rebuild myself from that. And I met my current wife shortly afterwards, and a bit of a whirlwind romance. We ended up having a child 18 months into that relationship, and just things started spiraling in a good way. Life started improving. I suppose due to the divorce, there was financial implications, everything like that. So it was trying to rebuild everything from that low ebb up. And where I say family became very important was my wife now is very supportive. Any harebrained idea I had or anything like that, she jumped in behind me and supported me. My mother and my father at the time were right in behind me, as were my siblings. So there's people I can rely on in life, and that is my core entity who if the tough stuff happens, I don't want to curse, but if it does happen, it's just that, you can pick up the phone and one of them are going to be at the end of the phone and they'll listen to you. They'll back you up. So it's having that knowledge in the back of my head that if I go to make a decision, that I have that support mechanism behind me. That drives me. And as a result, then the family. And I suppose I have 3 kids now, and they've all taught me different lessons. So I'm trying to pass on some of my good habits to them and leave the bad ones behind, which can be difficult, but trying to make sure that they grow as well and give them that platform that they can grow. So it's a great, it's really enjoyable, seeing them grow as well and passing on the lessons that I learned from my mum and dad, that my wife has helped me learn. So that's what's really important to me, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%. No, I mean, it's one of those that obviously family comes up quite a bit when I talk to people, but I love the fact there that you gave the bit of context in there, in that when it came to your wife now and then your parents, but when you first said your wife, is that word of support. And when you said, I love the way you put it there, is that when you come up with another harebrained idea, you know what I mean? Because it's this, I think, and it's really interesting because I was chatting to a guy just last week his whole career was about, he did marriage therapy and then he's doing more from a coaching perspective now. His company has Saved the Marriage. So it's all talking about, obviously, relationships was a conversation. And one of the words that kept coming up was connection. And that's what the main thing it was. But it's what you just said there, though, that whole thing of the reason that sort of one of the sides of it, of that importance of family, is they're there to support you in what you're trying to do. And I think it's that when we're living in an age now when there's so much change in sense of opportunities of individuals, of career, work, moving, could be location, all these things, trying something different, trying something new, having someone in your corner and going, yes, I think you can do this, or yes, I think that's a good idea, or maybe, versus someone just dismissing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a huge thing because there's this universal thing that we can all have our doubts. We can all have that self-doubt. And even though we can really believe in something, we can still have that niggle. Sometimes you need the support could be positive thing or it could be the kick up the arse. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Oh,
It's
100%. Yeah.
whichever way that support comes, whatever. And I think sometimes if they really are connected with you, they know which one you need at any given moment. Does
Yeah.
that make
Yeah.
sense?
Oh, 100%. And I'll give you a good example.
Yeah.
Back in 2017, like I no, I go further back. I go back to when I did my leaving cert. After I did my leaving cert, went to college for a year. Hated the whole books and everything, so I ended up dropping out and I took a job in a printing factory. But to go back, my mum was like going, "You have to find a job. No, you can't just drop out of college." So I said, "I found a job." And she was like, "Well, how have you done that already?" And it was just a connection. I'd spoken to a friend and he said, "There's a job coming up in our factory. Do you want it?" I said, "Yeah, perfect." Started. But then I applied, I joined the Guards. So I joined the Guards at just shy of my 20th birthday. So, as they say, the Guards is a job for life, they used to say back then. And it was, and it still is to a degree. But as a result, I thought, I don't need education. I don't need anything like that. And that fast forwards to 2017. Myself and my wife were having a conversation one day, and I just spotted the Guards had advertised this degree that had been applied policing and criminal justice in UL. And I went, "Oh, I really want to go back and do some education." And my wife just goes, "Yeah, go do it." She was pregnant with her second child at the time. And just the support that goes on, she was like going, "Yeah, go with it. We had one child already." But my exams fell in the middle of my son being born. So she was like, just, "Yeah, no, we have to get this done. Try and see what you can get wrote up and then phone college and see if you can get stuff postponed or whatever." So she was like driving me to do whatever, even though she was about to give birth, if you know what I mean. So that
Yeah.
connection and support, she knew that was important to me, but also the child being born was important. So she was like, "Let's balance this out and let's get working together." So
Mm.
she has that great intuitiveness to know what I put it down to being the servant leadership. She likes to. She's a nurse, like she likes to help somebody along by supporting them and making
Yeah.
sure they get. So she's very good at that. That's kind of. I don't know if I waffled on there or not, but
No, yeah.
kind of that connection that she feeds into other people before she feeds into what she needs herself.
Sure.
And she's a great example of that. So I take from that as well. And I suppose the two of us work in the public service that we also like to give back and support people and help them to drive them along. And that degree then led to me doing a master's in professional leadership in ATU Sligo. And then set to Southeastern Technology University had this course in executive coaching that Cerdis, they were an insurance company, were sponsoring. So I applied for that. And the whole way along, she was like going, "Yeah, go off, do your papers, do your whatever," until I finished with the executive coaching course. And she goes, "Now you actually have to go do something with it." So she's been the driving force behind me getting this coaching business that I started set up and doing keynote speeches and that. And it's been very enjoyable. But like,
Mm.
I wouldn't have been able to do that apart from, to go back to that word, connection and support, to have that in my home life, my family life. I wouldn't be able to do that on the other
Yeah.
extreme. So it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's an enjoyable
Absolutely.
journey. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's a couple of things in that as well. Considering at the time we're recording at the moment, it's literally we're into the tick of exam season, as they say, in most places around the world, especially here in Ireland, with the Leaving Cert all really in full swing. And it's that sort of constant sort of every time of this year where you'll get stories of people who carried on into education, people who didn't, and things like this. And it's like there's always that element of pressure of young people around this time of what to do, what decide to not to do. But I think your only just example there of at the time when you went to college and you decided actually it's not for me, just and go into employment, go into one job and then end up going into the guards and having a career in that field. But then, whatever, 20 odd years later, so, I mean, into your career with, nothing to do with education as such, if you know what I mean, formal
Yeah,
education,
yeah,
put it that way, to then go back into it. So there's, that moment when you sort of left education, quote unquote, thinking that was it. I'm never going to go back. I so find it interesting that at the age that you were when you decided, "Oh, I'm going to go back and study again," and then you go further on and get a master's. Do you know what I mean? It's like
yeah, yeah.
there's always, it's like at the moment, any sort of 17 or 18 year old, of course, it's the biggest thing they're going to do in their lives because they're only 17, 18. They haven't got the, unfortunately, the experience of life yet to see perspective and retrospective yet. But I think you're another great lesson that you can retrain in anything. You can go back to education. You can do something different. And, we'll go into obviously then the executive coaching now in a second. But when you got the sort of like the degree and then the master's, what was that actually like for yourself as a personal achievement? Because considering you'd left sort of schooling or education back then, what was it like when you had the degree in your hand?
It was massive, and I suppose I wanted to give back then to my mum. That
Yes.
my father passed away, but I wanted to give back to my mum. So like, she kind of supported me when I dropped out of college the first time,
Mm,
and was there. Go get a job, go get whatever. Drop me to Templemore. Her and dad dropped me to Templemore the first day, stuff like that. So she's been a very supportive person in my life as well. So when I got that degree in masters, my wife and her came to both graduations. And it was a very proud moment for me to be stood there with my mum, who I remember when I got the degree down in UL saying to her, I didn't ever think that you'd be standing beside me and me in a black gown. So it was lovely to be able to give back to her and say, yeah, I went the long way around it, but I got there. And I think everybody has their own journey in life, and it's for them to map it out, but they need that support mechanism behind them, whatever way they go. And college isn't for, I say that to everybody, college isn't for everybody, but don't be sitting around either. You know,
yes.
there's apprenticeships, the country is screaming out at the moment for electricians, plumbers, builders. There's other ways, there's other avenues. Like, we're quick to dismiss like a profession of somebody that's in working behind a till in a shop. But without that person stacking the shelves or whatever,
100%.
we don't have it. We don't have our life. So like, I suppose one thing, and I have my own kids doing it. They go into a shop and they they get something. Like, we've trained them, we've taught them how to go up and pay for stuff at the till, but we'd always say thank you to that person, or how's your day going? Because you don't know how that person's day is going. You don't know if they've met somebody, a customer that's been a bad form, and they've had that transference onto themselves. So just a little, how are you? How's your day going? Thank you. That can change that person's day, but it can also change everybody else's day around them. So I think that bit of follow your heart, whatever it is,
Mm,
your journey will find itself, providing you keep putting yourself out there and you're not
mm,
afraid to put yourself out there. And that's what myself and my wife try to do with our kids. We put them out there. We let them go up and pay for stuff at the till. We let them talk to the local shopkeeper. We live in a small town, so everybody knows each other, which is great as well. It's a great advantage for them. And it's brought their confidence on. They're not hid behind a screen. They're not,
yeah.
you know how to deal with people, talk to people. They're will able to converse with an adult. They'll meet an adult to go, hello, how are you? And I think
Yeah.
sometimes the adult gets taken back because we're
Yeah.
letting them mind their own, we're letting them do their own journey by putting in the guardrails for them,
Sure.
So yeah, it's
Absolutely.
all about that building, I suppose, going back to.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And I think, yeah. And the, the, the thing you said there about sort of like moments in life and sense of people now, as I said, young people going through exams and what they may or decide to do, whether it's further education, whether it's going into employment, whether it's going to an apprenticeship, all these different avenues. There's so much in relation to, say, then the world of self and own business as well, that with tech, it's been completely democratized. There's so many things, but it's, as you say, having that support systems behind you, having someone who's got your back, to try and really push on and do something. But as you say, it's the doing of something. It's the doing, and that it will lead to something else. So So bringing it back to you did those various different education pieces yourself, and then brought you to the executive coaching.
Yeah.
So what was it after the various sort of you did the degree, then the masters? What was it that interested you about the executive coaching piece?
Yeah. It goes back to what I previously said. It's that helping people.
Mm,
That's servant leadership. Like when I did that professional leadership masters, I found the servant leadership theory brilliant. I thought it was great because what do people, it basically goes, what do people need to bring them on? What can I help you as a leader to help you to bring on? And you start looking down into life and you start seeing those people that are starting out at the bottom. What do they need to grow? So Maslow's theory, their needs, their wants, their self-actualization all the way up. But if you can give somebody in the bottom run that leg up and help them and coach them along, it's brilliant. And I see it not just with adults or whatever, but even with children. If you see, I'm involved in training local football teams. I know it's a different example, but like you see an 8-year-old and they're there with a football, and at the beginning of the training session, they don't know how to kick the ball, but you just keep going and it's repetitive, repetitive, repetitive. Next thing they're kicking the ball, they're going off with a big smile. And it's the same with adults. If you can give them that belief system in themselves to bring them along, they can flourish. And I've seen some people, they've never had anybody give them that support. They've never had somebody say, look at you can do this, let's do it. And it came from the Garda background, I suppose, as well, where you're going out meeting people at their low and you're helping them. So that's what interested me in the coaching, the executive coaching.
mm,
Just going down, saying to people, how can I help you to become more cohesive, whether it's within a team or to give them that support, to help them flourish in their own industry, to grow. So that's what kind of,
mm,
for the executive coaching, how I liked it. I just thought it was something that is enjoyable. And
mm.
I suppose from the guards, you're kind of coming from a place where you're used to asking people questions.
Yes, of course.
And some people mightn't like the way you question them. And in that,
Yes,
as you know yourself, James, in coaching, you have to ask people awkward questions because they
yeah,
have to really reflect, they have to think and all that. So you have to challenge them. You
yes,
have to allow them to grow. So it kind of was a natural progression,
yeah,
so
absolutely. And because now you've now set it up as your own, you're going out on your own in sense of as an executive coach. So, couple of questions in that. What was it? Because you say in the guards for a long time. What was it? Was it because then you went into executive coaching, you decided you wanted to leave, or was it something you wanted to leave, or was it in the head for a while? You wanted to do something completely different. What was the thought process to go out on your own?
I'm still working within the guards, believe it or
Okay,
not. Okay. So I just wanted to challenge myself. I
yeah,
wanted to show my kids that we can challenge ourselves, we can grow. I think, to quote it, what monkey sees, monkey does
yeah,
is very important. So if my kids saw me sitting around, the first thing they're going to do is sit around. And then that's
yeah,
life skills. So like I want to progress myself. I want to grow as a person. I'm coming to a stage now where I've 30 years done and nearly 30 years done in Garda Síochána. So I come up to where I'm eligible for retirement. So I don't want to, when I retire, be sitting around the house. Because the first thing my children are going to see is daddy sitting around. And they're at
yeah.
that age of 12, 8, and 5 where they're impressionable. So if they see me sitting around, they'll do that. So the natural thing for me to go back to, the natural thing for me to do is to find something that I enjoy doing.
Mm,
And the thing about the guards is most of us only ever think about them for law and order.
yeah,
But there's so many different skills you learn along the way. You learn to
mm,
talk to people. You learn to be the person that they need in their lowest day. You learn to be the person that's there when they're at their highest. You learn how to conflict management, how to work within teams, how to work as a social worker. There's so many different things that are tied in together. And when you think about, executive coaching, you're trying to bring teams together. You're trying to get people to progress. you're dealing with conflict management, you're dealing with so many different things that it's a lot of skills that I had learned throughout my career that
Yeah.
I then had to say, right, I need to formalize this. So the natural thing was to do the course in Southeast Technology University. And I followed on from the master's I'd done in professional leadership perfectly. So everything just seemed to flow. So that was the reason why I
Yeah.
got into the executive coaching.
Love it. Absolutely. No, and even as you were just talking there in the sense of the one thing I was thinking there when obviously your experience of, nearly 3 decades within the guards is, and I'm sure it's one the skill you had to learn over the years, but in sense of calmness in chaos. Do you know what I mean? That ability to manage your own emotional state,
Yeah.
considering that the emotional state of the person that you could be talking to, whether it be a victim, whether it be someone that that's the sort of criminal side of it, whatever situation you might find yourself, a distressed parent or distressed child, all these different situations that would be absolutely create an emotive reaction in anyone. How you're able to manage oneself in that situation, massive. Because and I'm obviously not for looking for specifics or anything, but as you say, like when it comes to coaching, you're asking people challenging questions, and that will have a potentially emotive response
Yeah.
that you weren't expecting. I'm sure you may have heard it, and I've heard it myself, whether it be from a coaching perspective or even in the podcast, where it's like someone says something, you're like, "Well, I wasn't expecting that." Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and exactly, and
Yeah.
you're trying to sometimes you don't want to be completely sort of like emotionless because that's almost can be just as distressing if there's no reaction. But it's how you're able to sort of keep going what you need to keep going. Does that make sense? Keep in with that professional mind, whether it be a coach, whether it be in, the guard at that point. So it's that control or cause not even control, that sort of way you respond is massive. And I'm sure that's tying into what you're doing now in coaching.
Yeah. Because like you have to read people.
Yes.
That's a massive thing. Like, so
Mm,
in the guards, you'll deal with people from every sort, whether they're aggressive or whether they're passive or whatever. So you have to be able to react to that moment. And it
mm,
is it is funny. You can be dealing with a passive person that flick of a second
yeah.
they become aggressive. So you have to be able to respond to that in that moment. But you can also have
Mm,
the aggressive person that if you speak to them right, they can become passive. So you develop how to read people and where to go. So with the coaching, when you ask the questions, you're going to get a response, and that you have to be able to read that response to see what journey you're going to bring, or what journey you are going to go on with that person. But you also have to be careful that you don't get the counter transference of what they're doing.
mm,
And it's a skill, I suppose the guards don't give themselves enough credit because every instant they go to, they take contemporaneous notes. So they have to take notes there and then of what has happened or whatever. But it's their way of taking what the person has said and getting it out of their head onto paper. And you know yourself, James, in coaching and all that, when you're finished with a client, the first thing you're going to do is you want to make your own notes. So it's become a habit in life. And even to the stage where I keep a little journal myself and
mm.
just every evening I'd put, might be a one liner, might be a full page of stuff or 2 pages of stuff. But it's just to take a thought out of the head and put it on that paper because you don't want it sitting in your own mind, eating away at you either. And that's, I suppose, it's a skill in itself that you have to learn as you go along. And I was just lucky the profession I went into, it was something that was drilled into us, day,
Yes.
day, time, place, and then you'd make all your notes after that. So when I went and dealt with somebody, I had to write it down. So it wasn't something I was carrying. No, there is
Yes.
more serious offences or serious stuff that happens in life that might eat away at you and you have to deal with that differently.
Mm,
But it's just being able to get that out onto the paper. It's the first part of progression. And that's coaching as well, as you know. You're getting a person to reflect, dive in, but then you're sending them off to do their homework to get it wrote out and to get it done. And then you're making your own notes as well so that you're not taking out what they've said to you, you're getting out onto them. So
yeah.
a lot of
Absolutely.
skills that are transferred from both jobs.
Absolutely. And that, I mean, it's bring it absolutely, it's a great point. And it's to trying to bring us a little bit back to the sort of what we were talking about earlier about when I said about the time at the moment with education and exams and people making decisions. But it's that term we hear quite a lot of the times, that sort of term of transferable skills, and it can kind of get lost in the sort of mush of language in some ways when you're in that sort of career, if you're going to career guidance and all that sort of stuff. And people think, well, what do we actually mean by transferable skills? And I think it's exactly what you're saying there. It's like it comes back down to so much in relation to communication, talking, as you say, note taking, way of almost like a way of thinking, a way of being in a moment and how you then reflect. It's like, don't, when we talk about skills, I think those transferable skills, it's literally the human skills that you continue to grow and develop that can then be related versus technical skills can be taught. You might have to have an aptitude for it, but generally technical skills is that. So I think to the point you said earlier, which I think is really important when you said about even your children, teaching them or, encouraging them how to talk to people in a shop and things like that. So that level, that understanding of how you communicate with another human being is a skill that I still think is going to become even more and more important the more into tech we go.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It's like, because if everyone has the same level of tech behind them, whether it be AI or whatever, when you come to face with another human, which you still will have to do in moments in your life, it's the people that can able to communicate better and more personable are going to be at an advantage.
yeah,
In my opinion, like,
yeah,
I think it's just going to be even more and more of a skill that I think is going to be really important. The other point I think I wanted to mention there before I forget, when you're saying about the fact that you're doing the two at the one time, sort of you're starting your executive coaching, and I'm going to talk about more about hopefully the clients you work with now, but while doing and still finishing or still working with the guards, it's that funny thing. I was talking to my wife about this recently. Is sometimes we think that we don't have the time. Time is because obviously it's that thing of limit. And it's like I do. What I was thinking about is that my wife and myself, we've got back into doing training again. We do triathlon. So we do sort of long distance triathlon stuff, and we're getting back for a race we haven't for a few years. And you kind of go, you build up back into the number of hours you do. And then I have various different things that I do, different jobs and different work and different commitments. And you think, how was I how it's almost like I didn't think I had the time to do this before, but I've managed to fit it in. And you realize it's the priorities that you put in place and the more than the commitment you have to it, because there is the time. It's almost like you're busier, but I was like, how have I found that I'm able to do this? So it's actually, and the example you said that you're setting then for your children. So I think sometimes if we're willing to push ourselves that little bit, there's more we can do than we'd have a believe ourselves we can do.
yeah. Oh, 100%. Like I have them two jobs. I'm chairperson of Down Syndrome Mayo as well. I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Yeah.
I train two football teams, which are my kids are involved in. I'm under 10s and under 12s. But I love that being there,
Yeah.
helping out. And I love, like, my wife works as well. So we kind of also make time for ourselves to go for, might be something small like coffee in the morning or go for brunch or something when the kids are in school. But just to make that time as well that we don't forget about each other,
Yeah.
So, and I've done ridiculous challenges like down down through the years there where I've had to make time as well for training, as you said, James.
Mm.
It's if you structure yourself, you'll make that time to do whatever. But it, I suppose at the age of technology, we don't think we have time because people will pick up the phone and the next thing they know, there's an hour gone. They do the famous term of doom scrolling or something like
Yeah,
that. They
yeah,
just go
yeah,
on, they get lost in it, and the next thing there's an hour gone, they're going, oh, I have no time to go for a run, or I have no time to go for a walk, or I don't have time to go for that coffee with herself, or whereas if you just what's happening on social media isn't going to change in that
yeah,
hour, that
yeah,
you can go do something for that hour and you can still go doom scrolling after you've your little job done,
yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
all about prioritizing what you want to do in life,
100%. Absolutely. And I think then you kind of get, when you get into those sort of modes, when you kind of got those various different things that you're doing and trying to push yourselves or challenge yourself, there's definitely that element of fulfillment and satisfaction that you're doing those things that you committed yourself in your head, or you said you wanted to do. It's kind of like, what's the thing that's stopping you? Generally, is more often than not, it's the time, it's the person yourself. There's things of like people with the general reasons that I have for myself or other people would be time, energy, and money, the things that come up. And it's kind of like, well, we just said about where we can carve out the time. Okay, the top end, maybe you don't. What can you do that doesn't cost as much? It's bringing it. It's trying to remove the excuses from things that you do, to think about how can you think differently. I think it's a great one. I think paraphrasing from Tony Robbins is like, it's not your resources, it's how resourceful you are, in the sense of what you can do. I don't want to forget it. We'll come back into the executive coaching, but you just said something there about you're the chairperson of, was it Down syndrome?
Mayo. Yeah.
Mayo. Tell me about
Yeah.
that.
So, what, 2021, yeah. We were pregnant with our third. We were supposed to get married during COVID,
Yeah.
beginning of 2020. We had a wedding date set for April 2020, and I went to my stag party in beginning of March, and we were joking on the stag party, myself and the lads, the wedding might not go ahead due to COVID. And we said, sure, it never hit this far that quick, was we all right? And I got home on the Sunday night from the stag party, and on Thursday the country was in lockdown.
Yeah.
So we ended up having a third child in between when we could eventually get married.
Mm.
And 6 weeks prior to the third being born, my wife went in to get a scan, and they noticed the abnormality with the child's heart, the unborn baby. So we were immediately referred to Hollis Street. But the issue was a bank holiday weekend. It was Good Friday,
Mm.
2021, when my wife did the scan. So there's nothing open. There's no consultants
Mm.
over a weekend. So we had to wait until the Tuesday morning for somebody in Hollis Street. So we
Gosh.
spent the next couple of Thursdays up and down to Hollis Street being told child might survive, the child might need emergency surgery when it's born. I'm referring to it as it because we didn't know what we're having, just
Yeah.
we're having a child, because we
Yeah.
didn't find out with only 3 of our children. So the heart consultant came into us, and it's a funny place to be because consultants have their job to do, but they're very black and white. They don't really give you any hope for
Mm.
the future. In a way, they're kind of telling you this is what the medical diagnosis is, and that's going to be it. That's what books say.
Mm.
And we're basically told this child is going to have one of 3 different syndromes due to the way the heart is formed. Your best case is Down syndrome. If it's Edwards syndrome or Patau syndrome, this child won't survive, blah, blah, blah. So that's basically what we heard, blah, blah, blah. Everything else just went out the window.
Mm.
And it's a long drive back down to Mayo, where I live, from Hollis Street, and
Yeah.
not know what's happening. So my wife had to go undergo this test called Harmony test. So they take the blood and they do a diagnosis. So they came back and told us that at 99.1% chance this child is going to have Down syndrome. So we were sitting at the kitchen table when we got this news, and my wife's sister happened to be there. And it's kind of a funny story that broke the ice. My wife was upset over it all. She'd openly admit that, because it was a big shock to her, a big shock to both of us. But
Mm.
I just said, look, at the plan when we retired was to go traveling by ourselves. Instead, now we're just going to follow somebody around in the Paralympics. And my sister-in-law started laughing, and she goes, James, you're after chopping the child's arm or leg off. It's the Special Olympics for Down syndrome. So it broke the ice immediately. We started laughing, and queued 3 weeks later up in Hollis Street, and we had to be brought there because the child was going to be born, and we were told when the child is born, you're going to say hello, and we're going to whip it out and bring it to Crumlin, and we'll have to have surgery within 48 hours of life, roughly. So we said, okay, so we were all prepared for this. We were prepared for a 6-week minimum stay in Dublin. And this comes back to support mechanisms, what I talked about earlier.
Mm.
Families coming in supporting us. because we had two other children. So
Mm.
grandparents were called in, dropped everything, helped us out. We had our own plan formulated of one of us would go home during the week, kids come up at the weekend. The parent that stayed behind in the hospital would enjoy the weekend with the two other ones, and then the other parent would go back down the road again. So that I was going to be traveling, my wife is going to be staying in Dublin. This was all the plans.
Mm.
So our child was born, a baby girl called Iris was born on a Tuesday morning in Hollis Street. They brought her down to the neonatal unit, and that's where all the sick babies go. And my wife couldn't go down first. I had to go down because everything that was happening. And she was like this giant in an incubator because all
Mm.
the other children are fit in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
And there was a specialist crowd there, and they were scanning her heart and everything. They kind of said, "We can't find the abnormality. It's disappeared."
Mm.
I was kind of very confused. I was going, "I don't understand." Well, it's not there. It's disappeared when she was born. Something has happened. She was born naturally, so they reckon that
Mm.
if a proper squeeze in the birth canal, it would help the heart somehow. So that's exactly what had happened. But she was brought to Crumlin, and instead of going over to Crumlin straight away, we'd her in the hospital for 6 hours. So my wife got to come down and sit beside her for a while, and then she was brought over to Crumlin, and I followed over. We were still expecting surgery. So that was the Tuesday, and we left Crumlin on the Friday with Iris.
Wow.
She's 5 now. She didn't have the
Yeah.
surgery. She had the surgery in January just gone by, but she's just a bubble, a ray of light. And as I said, she was born with Down syndrome, and I got involved. We were very lucky. The local Down syndrome branch reached out to us very quickly and said, "Look, whenever you need help, let us know. But we are
Mm.
here. We can help you." So they were brilliant. So like that, giving back, because I always go back.
Mm.
The Rhoda chairperson came up and they approached me and they said, "You have a few qualifications there that, would you be interested?" I was hemming and hawing. I kind of spoke to my wife and I said, "Oh, I don't know." She goes, "Look it, just go for it. You never know. We might never get the chance again. Go do it, see how you get on." So I'm 3 years in that role and just enjoying it and meeting different families and different people and communicating with people at a government level, but also as
Mm.
with Down syndrome Ireland. And it's it's a lovely community to be involved in, and it's something my own daughter, like she had her surgery there in January gone by. And once again, when you talk about resilience and that, she had the surgery on a Monday and we were home in Mayo on the Saturday. And
Mm.
on the Sunday, she didn't want any pain relief. She was finished with pain relief and that. And I was going, I'd be 6 months still with the bell, hoping that somebody come and help me. So I, I'm lucky that I have real life examples as well
Yeah.
of that resilience of how my family reacted, that support mechanism, as I said, when you got back, the grandparents coming in, siblings checking up, seeing if you needed help with anything. And like I had a brother or sister living in Dublin. So, and my wife, her sister was living in Naas. So we had a place to disappear to when one of us was in Crumlin, the other one could disappear, get a home cooked meal, a shower, come back in and swap roles. So it goes back to the beginning of my conversation
Yeah.
today. What's important to me, the support mechanism, the connections, the family, giving back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where everything then, my whole ethos, everything has come in helping people. So
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I ended up there. Yeah.
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 Thanks for sharing the story there. I mean, incredible, obviously, what you all went through and obviously, and touching wood for Iris and everything that she's 5 and flying and hopefully obviously she's recovered from the surgery she had earlier this year. And it's one of those things again where like how we are able to respond again when things happened in life and life is what it is, isn't it? And and as you say, that whole thing of giving back and how you responded to the fact that your daughter was born with Down syndrome and what that meant for you as a family, meant for you as individuals, and her as your child, all these things. And the way that one of the ways that you not even sort of responded, is like embraced it, is the fact that you move yourself within to the community. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? You
Yeah.
embrace it even more. You kind of go, well, what else can I, how else can I give back? What else can I learn? How else can I help other people again? It's obviously that you say just part of your nature in a sense to kind of, instead of just trying to manage it alone. Does that make sense? That you
Yeah.
can't, because I say it's one, because obviously you'd have to forgive my ignorance that I don't have any family members or anything that have down, so I'm completely on the outside of what that community is. But whenever I see something from afar, from observational perspective, it looks like an incredible community. That's all I can say
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah. Like we're very lucky.
Mm,
You know, Iris is just like, she's this little bubble of light when you
mm,
get going with her, like, and she's her words are coming now
mm,
bit by bit, but she's well able to be a little dictator and get you to do what she wants. But she's also showing you that you don't need to speak either to communicate. That
yeah,
body, like how she uses her body to get you to do stuff
yeah,
to help her. So it also gives you another skill going back to reading people.
yeah,
You can see how they move.
yeah,
And this is a lesson, like on my LinkedIn, I did it before. Lessons I've learned from, she was 4 at the time. Lessons I've learned from a 4-year-old. Do you know? And it was just them little things that she teaches me that I wouldn't have grasped as quickly. And like the resilience is a great one. Like just
yeah,
how she bounced into life, how she bounced back from her surgery. She'd go down the town here where we live, and even further afield, and people know her. They'd be coming up going, "Hello, Iris, how are you?" And myself and my wife would go, "Who is this person?" But they all know her because she's a bubbly little child, and she goes out and about, and she'll walk
yeah,
into a shop, like, and you'll be walking in, and you be in a world of your own. Next thing she'd be just like, "Hi, hi, hi," waving at everybody. And it's like, I go back, shopkeepers, they all know her because she'd come in
yeah,
and next thing they're
yeah,
all smiling in the place and they're laughing and
yeah,
whatever. Like, so it's
yeah,
great. Like, it's a great
yeah,
community. We've met
yeah,
so many people, so many friends from it, and
absolutely, yeah,
brilliant. Like,
yeah, 100%. And is it one of those where it's like, I don't know if this is the right question or not, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Does it give you a different perspective on life?
definitely.
Mm.
Because at times I think, and my wife and I have said this, we think we had stuff hard,
Mm.
do you know? And then you will see something else, and you realize another family has something harder, or else you'll
Yeah.
see that people are judging people with a disability. They have that unconscious bias, and they're judging them without getting to know the person. And then when you actually get to know that person, you realize they're not what you thought of.
Mm.
Like, we've gone to events there at the Special Olympics where there's been prize givings, where there's been welcome home for a couple of our members where they've won medals, and you go in and parents are there and they're celebrating. The siblings are there of the people with Down syndrome celebrating. And then you have the person with Down syndrome and they're going around with the medal and they're delighted and they're showing it off. And like, they're like, to hold one of the medals, they're real proper chunky gold,
Mm.
like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's the pride that they have. And you realize that you have no issues in life. You think you
Yeah.
do, but
Yeah.
you actually don't.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, everything can be fixed.
Yeah, yeah.
And as I said to you earlier, the support, the proper guardrails in place, you can accomplish so much in life.
100%.
But you just need to set yourself up for it.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah, no, incredible, incredible. And again, thank you so much for sharing about her and what you do with Down syndrome in Mayo. I want to go back to, before I let you go though, about the coaching piece again,
Yeah,
because so much is coming back to that in relation to now being in, say, when you're starting to work in that space with the coaching. Is there a particular type of person or group or company that you work with or try to work with? What's your sort of, I don't want to use the word, but I'm going to use it, niche? Is there a sort
yeah,
of target that you go for at the moment?
yeah. So I look into, I suppose, in my background, I look into resilience, burnout,
Mm.
how it affects people's mindset. like I've done a few to be mad challenges down through the years, and that kind of gave me that perspective on it. So, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of High Rocks.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
We did 5 of them in one day, back to back for Down syndrome Mayo.
Nice.
I did a couple of the goggles challenges.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and on another occasion, I ran from Clamars to Drogheda over 5 days.
Nice.
So I learned different lessons, and I suppose on them journeys, I can go back to the one, the 5 marathons. Just learned different lessons. And a child had come out in Mullingar with his mother, and he stood there for 45 minutes because he'd heard we were doing it on the radio, and he stood there with a Mars bar and a fiver from his pocket money to donate to the charity, and the Mars bar for me to keep me going on the run. But it goes back to the good nature of people. But
Yeah,
I to go back to what you asked, I kind of brought all that into my repertoire of skills to help people along. And I've created my own system I call it the Forge system. So it's foundation, observation, resilience, growth, and evolution. And I liken it to when you start off, starting as a caterpillar and finishing as the butterfly at the far side. But
yeah,
then when you spread the wings, to keep going in that circular motion, the life
yeah,
cycle, and just
yeah.
that it doesn't stop. When you do
Mm,
evolve, don't let that be where you stop.
mm,
Set your foundation again for your next thing, and just keep going in that circular motion. And bit by bit, you can keep pushing on and growing. Because just I talk about the observation part of it. Like, I always call that the observing the waterline, audit your own lifestyle. And I liken it to boats have a plimsoll where there's a line there when they're in the water. The captain of the ship knows if the ship is getting heavy, so the plimsoll will start going down, and that's the same as the human body, the human person. Once the weight starts coming on, you
mm,
start down. And if you keep trying to push through that, the same as a boat gets heavier, you push, you go downwards. Same with the human. You don't look at your own waterline, you don't audit it. Everything gets heavier, 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 and you start to burn out. So it's trying to work around that, give you the proper guidelines, guardrails, as I call them, that you're going to come up with yourself, so that you don't burn out and you don't take everything on, that you work within a team, that you take your team dynamics, share everything out. So the force system is, as I think anyway, is
mm,
brilliant for that, because it'll, in a team dynamic, not just yourself, you can see where a business is getting laid down
mm.
with what they're taking on, where they can cut that and move along. And I suppose I have, as part of when I was back doing college, I saw on Springboard a project management course, and I went and did that. So you see the lean, how you can use the lean mechanics
Yeah,
for offloading stuff that you don't need to do,
yes,
that you can move on. And teams are the same. With the greatest of intent in the world, everybody thinks, well, we put them all into a team, they're going to work together brilliantly because they've all got these skills.
yeah.
But if you don't give them the right ingredients and you don't sort it out, conflicts will start. When the conflicts start, the trust goes, everything gets heavy, way down.
Mm,
So you just,
yeah.
the way I look at it is clear the decks and help the team to grow in the right direction.
Absolutely love that, and I love the word that the system you created there. But I love even just the word that obviously delivered with the word forge. It's a great word, isn't it, as well? Because the whole thing with coaching as well is like thing of it's not to say that things in the past won't come up, but it's the all like the concept of moving forward, the concept of going and looking and how can we take the action in towards something and forge. It just immediately you kind of like has that. It's like to me, it's that immediate chest out. Come on, we're going to forge forward here, guys.
Yeah.
So it's a really great word to that, and then the breaking down of your system there. No, it's a yeah, I love that. I just yeah, that word is it really will connect with people, I think, because some people because it's you can just get that image in, to me that image in your head of because it's also that as you said a few things about resilience because I think even just that word, it's it has a thing about going forward, but to me, it has an element of struggle in there. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's not going to be. This isn't going to be easy, lads. It's like it's like forge into the depths. It gives that sort of element of like we're in for a battle, but we'll bring it on type thing.
Yeah, and if you look at the year that's gone by, just 2026 itself,
Yeah.
all the conflict, everything that we faced, not just
Mm,
in Ireland, but in the world. And
sure.
the way Ireland has gone, as you know yourself, we have so many immigrants coming in, working
Mm,
in jobs, giving back, and they have the pressures of their home life in the country they've left behind to deal with as
mm,
well. On top of everything, like I did a talk there recently in the Royal College of Physicians of Ireland, and it was to a group of Sudanese and Pakistani doctors that had come over. But
mm,
they've all left war-torn areas, and I'm trying to help. I was helping them with how they deal with their resilience here in Ireland, how they deal with facing,
mm.
managing themselves with their burnout and
Yeah.
not to be taking stuff home. I do liken the guards, and it was perfect then to talk to the doctors about it as well. We wear uniforms, uniform acts like armor, and when armor, as I do say, when armor gets heavy, it cracks, it's rigid, but nobody sees what's behind it. So we have to put that architecture in place to deal with what's happening. And that's where Forge comes in as well. You can put the
Yeah.
architecture in place for yourself. And doctors, guards, all them professions, they all wear uniforms.
Mm,
Everybody that goes to work technically puts on a uniform. And then when they come home, how do they leave behind what they've done
mm.
to move forward at home as well? Because that's where the real resilience is built. It's how you deal with what's happened during your day to move forward in life. So it ties in the forge, everything tied in together, like
Yeah.
with forging the architecture and shedding your armor to move forward.
Love it. No, absolutely. No, I think it's no, it's fabulous, and I think I can see how how will and has and will continue to connect with people. I'm sure. Absolutely, love it. There's a few questions I ask everyone when they come on, James. So we're going to get to these
No problem.
questions now. So the first one is there a quote or a phrase that's important to you?
Yeah, it's a funny one. It goes back to the early days of Twitter, which is now X, but it's in my bio on it, and I've never taken it off. And it's someday your whole life is going to flash before your eyes, make it worth watching. In other words, don't have any regrets. Don't look back. When or you do look back when you get there, but make sure what you have done has been worth it. That you have made decisions that have bettered your life the whole way through. I go back to the start of the conversation, as I said, I had been previously married. If I had not left that relationship and stayed in it, my life would be totally different. But my life has improved because of that decision. So don't be afraid to make them decisions that are going to improve your life. Do you know? There can be big life changing ones, So
Yeah,
make sure that life is worth watching. When you get to that last split second,
yeah,
make sure what has happened has been worth it. You know.
100%. Absolutely, love that. Who have been the biggest influences in your life?
I've probably discussed them all so far.
Yeah,
Definitely my dad and mum. I lost my dad to cancer when my eldest child was 3 weeks old. But I always tell a story. It's my father always had an ambition in his life. He worked for the Department of Agriculture, headage, going out visiting farmers. But he also had this burning ambition to be involved in politics. He was really into it. And back in 1999, 1999, he got the opportunity to run for council in Mayo. So he did. But following that, he eventually got the opportunity to run as a TD. But because he worked with the Department of Agriculture, once he put his name on the ballot sheet, he couldn't work in the role he worked in and also be involved in politics as a TD because it'd be seen as being influential. So him and mum had to make a decision. Now, I'm the eldest of 8 children, and in 1999, I had just joined the Guards. And I think I said it already, I was just turning 20 at the time. So, as the eldest of 8, you can imagine the whole way down.
yeah,
And they had to make a decision for dad to leave a stable employed job,
mm,
take this risk, or do what? And they took the risk of him resigning or taking early retirement or whatever from the Department of Agriculture and running for politics. So he ended up getting elected. But when you think about the risk that they took to make sure that myself and my siblings were all looked after, it's just an amazing, to me, it's an amazing story of that support mechanism and
Yeah.
risk and balancing it all out and just going for it. And they are probably two of the biggest influences I've had
Mm,
in life and people that I look up to. And I suppose they've given me that grounding in life that I've already said I want to give back to my own kids.
sure.
So if I can have that sort of an influence on my own children, that they're
Mm,
not afraid to do stuff and to take that risk, I'd be delighted. And I suppose I'm lucky then that I found somebody like my own wife who supports me
yeah.
in my stuff as well. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
No, that's thanks for sharing that as well. Because I mean, it's very much in this such a powerful story because it shows again the willingness of people, people together to take the risks. It's like it's a collective, as you say. It might be an individual doing one thing, but it affects so many. You know what I mean? So it's that, but the willingness to take the risk, to support each other, to have that belief that we can figure it out. Do you know what I mean? Because it's going back to the point even you said about the risk of, you ending your first marriage. There's obviously risks involved and things like that. And I'm sure the sort of outcome of having a relationship break down and end and all the things that will come with that. But as you say, though, for the arguably the risk of staying is sometimes so much higher. We just think because we're in it, it's less risky because we
yeah,
already know the situation. We think the unknown is more risky, but actually, it's again generally through retrospective. You go, actually, it wasn't. It was risky, but wasn't as if I stayed put. So it's a great story from your parents there, and what your dad and your mum did at that point in time, still with a lot of children to rear and manage and help and all the rest of it as well at that time. But then again, how that reflected in your own life when you were taking about the new education, going back to do your masters, just as your wife's about to have your second child, all those things. But we'll figure this out. Do you know what I mean? And having that support system, having that, it's even, you say it's beyond us to the way you've been talking about it though, James. It's more beyond a support system, a support system that really believes in each other, isn't it?
yeah,
It's it's beyond, it's like it's having each other's back. Do you know what I mean? More than just, it's not just going, well done. It's, you know what I mean? Because everyone can have that. It's like, no, you can do this, go do it. It's hugely powerful.
it's massive, massive.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we overlook that. We don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
It's
don't.
what, yeah, no, absolutely. Because I'll share one piece because it's like with one thing in my sort of I taken from my wife in more recent time as well. Because I'm kind of maybe a little bit like yourself in the sense of definitely over the last number of years I don't know if they say he's taking more risks, but I'm trying more things if in that way, in the sense of like my ambitions to sort of to work for myself and do things for myself and trying different things. And that's not quite working out. I'll try something else. And this is it. And I kind of sometimes I would have had a mindset of this or that, one or the other, just a very binary type decision making sort of mindset. And thinking if I can't do this, and I have to go in all in on something. And my wife one day, she said, why can't you just do both? And why can't you do a bit of everything? Why can't you do it all? And it was like a sort of like, I didn't have an answer when she asked me the direct question. I couldn't go, well, I suppose I could, basically that was, and it was that thing of, and because she was like, well, do it then. You can do it. Why not try a bit of, try it all. Try and see what works, but don't just think, you have to give up to do that. And I think so. It was, you sometimes need that outside voice to ask the question that you're not willing to ask yourself or don't want to ask yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where the real support comes.
Yeah.
You know, that's where the challenge. And it's great when you do have that person in your own life that will challenge you, that will
Yeah.
that will say it to you. But no matter what your decision is, they'll back you.
Yes.
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's
100%.
brilliant to have that. Like it's a
Yeah.
real safeguard for yourself that
100%.
look, and if this doesn't fail, at least I gave it a shot. Or if this fails, sorry, at least I gave it a shot. It is what it is, but at least I know I still have that support when it
Yeah.
happens. And if it works, you still got the support to drive you forward to take it to
Even
another
more.
level,
Absolutely.
you know?
100%. Love it. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you, James. It really has. I have one final question for yourself, which is what's important for your future?
My future is live long, happy and healthy. If I do live long, but happy and healthy anyway. To see the three kids grow up with that, what I've instilled in them, that they
Mm,
can carry it forward, that they're not afraid to be themselves, that they don't follow the herd. I think that's
mm,
becoming that. I think you kind of mentioned it earlier with communication, that they don't just follow the herd and they hide behind, that they're not afraid to be themselves,
yeah.
and that me and my wife live to enjoy retirement. That's
Love it. Yeah.
and that we do go to get to do the traveling.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like I
100%.
think I think work and all that, that is all there, but you need to have that bit of time to yourselves, that everything else, that you can take a break, put down the phone, take a break from reality, go for a walk. I haven't mentioned this, but I've kind of
Mm,
stopped watching the news
yeah. Yeah.
because I suppose in my own line of work, I dealt with enough.
Mm,
I don't need to know what's happening around the country
mm,
or the world. That I'll follow. I'll follow to a certain degree sport, or I do follow sport, but I'll follow some business or whatever like that. But I prefer to kind of listen to podcasts and that now rather than listening to the news. I
mm,
put on my headphones and just listen to a podcast. And
mm.
yours, of course, James.
Well, you're
Uh,
very good.
but just to shut off, and I think people should do that themselves. I think that it helped them a lot.
Yeah, it's an interesting one actually, that because it's the I'll just say my sort of piece on it, 'cause the two sides of that coin in the sense of you're right, and sometimes when you're watching it, you kind of it just drives you mad. The other side of it, oh no, to be informed, but then I'm going, is this really informing me? Because I'm not sure. It's that horrible thing, and I don't know if this is always. It's just now the times we live in. It's like what to believe, not to believe, and not even from a online or social media, just actually just the news. You kind of going, well, actually, so it is that sort of yeah. Sometimes you just like I can't read another headline because you kind of going, this is more baffling than the one before, and you're kind of going, is this really? Am I actually living in these moments? Sometimes you kind of go, so I'm kind of I would agree with you in some respects to that. I'm kind of like, you know what? I'm going to focus on the influence that I can have in a positive way and what I can do and the immediacy of people around me. And sometimes that can have that impact and ripple effect that we're trying to make better,
Yeah.
even in our own, the people that we interact with. I think sometimes I bring it a bit more to local in the sense of that regard. That makes sense,
Yeah.
and what influence can I have and make a positive impact on those around me? That's kind of how I try to sort of, I don't know, rationalize what's going on at the moment, if that makes sense.
Does like I get enough of the headlines in my own day job,
Yeah,
the with my work. So
yeah,
I don't I don't think I need to live that when I come home.
yeah,
It's nice to
absolutely.
associate, like, and
Sure,
I follow
absolutely.
sport. And it that has also given me another dynamic with my kids
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they'll sit down, they'll talk to me about that thing, so
yeah,
we discuss football and
yeah, yeah.
everything, so it's great, so.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, James, it's been wonderful to chat to you. It really has. And obviously, I want to make sure people know more about you as a coach and what you're able to help them, and obviously the Forge method that you have come up with, and if it'll help them in their lives. So, if we'll share links, obviously, to where people can find you. But if you want to give a shout out now, where people can find you online,
Yeah, well, I do everything through LinkedIn so you get me under James Carty at LinkedIn. And then my email is james@jamescartycoaching.ie. So
perfect.
one or the other, you'll find me somewhere.
100%. We'll make sure those links are there. If anyone's interested in obviously in that method or anything that James has done, you can check out those links and yeah, and connect with them on LinkedIn. James, once again, thank you so much for chatting to me today.
Thank you so much, James. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to What's Important to You. If you enjoyed this episode, follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if it resonated, share it with someone who might need it too. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment or ask a question, and let's keep the conversation going. I'm James Dean, and I'll be back soon with another real conversation to help you reconnect with what truly matters. Until then, take care and stay curious.